Hello and welcome, I'm Tafara Gadamu. The Authority for Civil Society Organizations, as its name entails, oversees the works of NGOs in this country. It is also, by law, tasked with finding a means to promote the culture of volunteerism in Ethiopia. My guest today, the Director General, Jima Dibo, joins me to explore those issues. A very warm welcome to the program.
Thank you.
So it's been 3 years since you restructured your organization, right?
Yes.
The Agency for Civil Society Organizations in Ethiopia. What exactly did you introduce?
Thanks so
Because you have a new regulation, and based on new regulation you put together.
Thanks so much, Tafara, for inviting me. This is a great privilege and opportunity for myself, or also for my organization, to share to the public what we have done and who we are and what we have reformed in the last 3 years. As you have said, Agency for Civil Society Organizations has been existed actually since 2009 as Charities and Societies Agency, according to the Proclamation 621/2009. That law, which has already been repealed, have had negative implication on the operation of civil society organizations. Because of that, following the reform that has been embarked in Ethiopia in 2018, April 2018, one of the reform areas that government has promised to reform is on this sector, the civil society sector. And there are two major reform agendas. The first one is the legal reform, and the other is the institutional reform. Then in the legal reform, the previous law, which has been categorized by some scholars as draconian law, or one of the notorious law in Ethiopia, which have significantly hampered the operation of the civil society organizations or the charities and societies, has been completely repealed and replaced by a new pro-rights law. That is the Proclamation 1113/2019. And the other is the institutional reform. In the institutional reform, we have done so many changes to create a conducive working environment for the civil society organizations.
So you've opened the gates, is that what you're saying? Is it unfiltered? Is it open for everybody? Are you overcrowded with NGOs since that happened? What exactly do you mean by that?
Not really. When I say open, there are legal regimes which govern us, which gives an open space for the civil society organizations so that individuals could or peoples could come together and form a civil society organization. By the way, forming a civil society organization is a constitutional right. When you read Article 31 of the Ethiopian Constitution, the Federal Democratic Republic of Ethiopia Constitution, it says the right to association is one of the democratic right that should be respected by the government. Therefore, what we done is that we didn't just open. When we open, there are some rules and regulations which should be observed by the civil society organizations. But at the entry, the previous restrictions and some impediments have already been eliminated.
So I think the assumption is that NGOs cannot replace governments. They can only complement that. Are you holding that principle?
Definitely. Actually, civil societies are one of the economic actors in any society. You have government on one side and the private sector on the other side, and the civil society comes in the middle, balancing, because they do not have a partisan kind of purpose. They are non-partisan. They are not like political parties. On the other hand, they are not for profit. They are voluntarily association of people who have some kind of public cause to address. Therefore, they are not replacing the government. No, that's not their purpose. But they complement. They support in one way or another. But not only support, by the way. They can be also critical to the government sometimes. They can.
Do you allow them to be so? I mean, there are a number of NGOs that focus on rights issues.
Definitely.
Do you allow them to be critical?
Sure. There's no restriction on this. They can engage in political advocacy, especially local civil societies. International or foreign civil societies are not allowed to do political advocacy or to engage in kind of election-related matters, but for local organizations, this is one of the open spaces, which has never been practiced previously. This is one of the area of taboos for the civil society organizations prior to 2019 change of legal and institutional reform.
There are reports of some NGOs, international NGOs, that were kicked out of the country during the course of the war, right? About a year ago. So that means they have kind of crossed the line. Is that what happened?
Yeah, actually, we didn't kick off them from the country. What we have done, we have suspended because they have engaged in some areas which are not allowed for them and which is illegal, actually. Some of the actions, some of the things that they have done is unacceptable according to the laws that is operational.
So there is a limit to what they can do, is that what you're saying?
Just to share with you, Tafarra, there are two major areas that is prohibitable for civil society organizations in Ethiopia. The first one is they cannot engage in any kind of illegal activities. That is unacceptable. Any kind of activities that are designated by any law as illegal, civil societies cannot engage. And the second is any activity that is considered as immoral within the Ethiopian society, civil societies, be it local or international, they are not allowed to engage. These are the true major, broad, they are not restrictions for me. They are just areas which are not allowed for the civil society organizations to engage in.
So in the last 3 years since you kind of reconstituted yourself, how many organizations applied to be registered and operate in Ethiopia? I understand that you have over 2,000, right?
Yeah, definitely. One of the areas that we have seriously have been working on is that to make a smooth get in. To make previously, for instance, organizations has to bring a proposal, and then that proposal has to be reviewed by some concerned government authorities. Unless that concerned government authority says, okay, there is no registration in Ethiopia. But there was no. Now what we have done is we have made an entry point very easy, and the registration process is very predictable, and the requirements are very clear. And then based on this, since April 2019 till now, we have registered over 2,100 new local and international organizations.
You're talking about plenty of them are, locals, right?
Yes, most of them are locals. And the international organizations in total are 500, but within this 3 years, the number of international organizations who have applied and registered are about 100 plus.
So do you feel overflooded by NGOs, or is that something that you're expecting?
We have been expecting because the previous law has been hampered and restricted the right to association. Many organizations have been cancelled every year. One study shows that tells us that every year 100 plus organizations has been cancelled. Their certificate of registration has been taken. But now there is no such kind of action so far. We didn't cancel the certificate of registration of any organization within these 3 years unless they applied by themselves because of different reasons. Therefore, we have been expecting many organizations would come. By the way, I wouldn't say we are overflooded because we have been expecting. But when you compare the number of organizations with our neighboring countries like Kenya, like Egypt or India, ours is at this infant stage. Yeah.
So that means you expect more?
Yes, definitely.
And to be able, when you say you expect more, what do you exactly mean? Have you identified areas where you can encourage NGOs to work in? And how does it go?
Look, as I've told you earlier, tried to explain to you, civil society organizations has a very crucial place in the development endeavor of one country. And Ethiopia, since we have an ambition of growth, development, and democratization, we need many more civil society organizations. When the number of civil society organizations increase, the issues that they are engaging in, the issues that they are raising would help the society as well as will give the government to rethink about the developmental activities that the government is engaging in, because they complement as well as challenge some of the operations. Therefore, they are very helpful in our development endeavors.
So, in other words, what I'm asking is does this fall within your responsibility, i.e., identify sectors where NGOs are needed the most, and then you guide them to get to those places? Is that part of what you do?
Not really.
You don't?
We don't do that. What we do is we open the spaces, and it is their duty and responsibility to choose where to engage in. That is up to them. What we do is we facilitate. We make the environment very conducive while they are registering, and also we give the necessary support while they are engaging in real operation.
But can't development be so skewed then? In other words, what I'm saying is, if you let them go and engage themselves in any particular field they want to get involved in, couldn't that be skewed in a way, because they can always be geared to a certain direction, and there will be plenty of other sectors which will be left out in the course of this drive to bring about development, as you said, in the country?
Yeah, the right to association is, as I've said, it is the right to be respected, and where to engage, what to do is up to the organization. But this does not mean that we are not working with the civil society organizations. Not only with us, after registration, they do work with other stakeholders, government entities. For instance, we do have a quarterly meeting with government entities who are working with the civil society organizations at federal as well as at regional. Therefore, we share ideas, and CSO representatives are also part of that joint council meeting, and we share ideas. And when they go to the regions, for instance, regional states have their area of intervention. They know the area of interest, and they show to the civil society organization
where they can be attracted to.
Definitely.
Do you consider yourself less bureaucratic than you used to be in the past?
Definitely. It's incomparable.
But you are a very seriously regulating body.
Yeah,
in other words, have you run into issues with NGOs other than the couple of issues cases that we mentioned earlier?
Not really.
Have you run into some issues with the NGOs?
Not really.
Don't you reprimand them? Are they clean operators inside in the country?
It's difficult to say clear. There are always some challenges. I mean, civil society.
What are the challenges? That's what I.
Some of the challenges, for instance, civil societies. I would say all or most of the civil societies in Ethiopia are dependent on foreign aids. And when you are dependent on foreign aids, definitely there are some issues that might not definitely work in Ethiopia. Therefore, it would create dependency syndrome when you are always expecting from outside. This is one of the issues. The second problem maybe I would like to raise is lack of transparency and accountability. Some organizations, because of the previous maybe laws or practices, we have been observing some kind of lacking in this area, lack of transparency and accountability. There are also so many issues that I could raise, but this wouldn't really make any as such serious problem between my organization and the civil society organizations. We have created so many platforms where we regularly discuss, identify challenges, and advise civil society organizations to respect the laws of the land. If they fail to respect, there is always a stick, not only the carrot. Therefore, they know this, and they must work. Always what we are saying is work towards ensuring maximum public benefit. They have to make that a reality. That is where we are.
Is that what you call self-regulation?
The self-regulation is another way of the civil society organizations could regulate themselves. The one that I have told you is a government regulatory way of doing things. I mean, there are two ways of regulating. One is the government regulatory body, which is my organization, as well as other government agencies, with whom organizations are signing a project agreement or whatever agreement. And the other is the self-regulation scheme, where organizations, civil societies, would regulate themselves. It's a kind of peer regulatory self-regulation scheme has been put in place already.
So that's handled by the consortium of
CSO Council.
CSO Council, and also you have the umbrella organizations like one of the oldest ones, probably the oldest umbrella organization, CCRDA. So
yeah, even the council is it goes beyond consortiums.
Is it working well?
Consortiums, yeah, it's at its infant stage, but
3 years?
Not 3 years actually, not even 2 years. It was established in December 2020.
Right.
Therefore, they are not even fulfilled 2 years. But they have issued code of conduct, for instance, the code of conduct that governs the civil society organizations.
Volunteerism, quite a challenging concept, right? And it's about time to raise it. That falls within your jurisdiction.
The idea of volunteerism is within our society, but unfortunately, the culture of volunteerism is not advanced. And we have given actually by law, when you read...
yes, you have to promote volunteerism.
Yeah, promoting culture of volunteerism, fostering philanthropy and volunteerism is there in the law. That is given to my authority. We have done so many things, but we have identified two things in this regard. The first one, there is no policy document that governs the volunteerism issues in Ethiopia. We lack it. The second, there is no institution that is responsible for the promotion of volunteerism. If you go to Kenya, even Rwanda, neighboring countries, they do have those kind of machineries. I mean, they do have the policy document, they do have institutions to foster volunteerism. They calculate, for instance, how much volunteerism has contributed to the GDP of the country. We do have that thing. The power and the function that is given to AXO or to
your organization,
in my organization, is also very limited. Because if you go to Ministry of Women and Social Affairs, they do work, they do engage in volunteerism. Prior to the formation of Ministry of Women and Social Affairs, there is another Ministry of, I think, Women, Youth and Children. They have attempted to draft a youth policy, volunteerism policy document, which is not ratified. If you go to the Ministry of Peace, they do have volunteerism for peace. If you go to the Addis Ababa City Administration, they do have some kind of activities on that area. If you see the grand picture, look, the Prime Minister, what is he doing? And since he came to his office, he has been engaging in green legacy, in many voluntary activities, which have actually bear very good fruits. Still, we are lacking a policy document which guides how we should engage in volunteerism and what we are expecting from it. And there is no specific government authority which is really responsible to run.
Do you want it to be in your office?
Yeah,
because you're given the legal mandate in a way.
Honestly speaking, the power that is given to my authority is primarily to register and monitor the civil society organizations. And the culture of volunteerism really goes beyond the civil society organizations. Why civil society organizations only engage in the operation of volunteerism? Everybody, I mean, elderly people, retired professionals should engage. Therefore, we need something maybe higher or beyond my organization. But what we did is...
What you did is that's very important, but that's very important because
Yeah.
you have it in the regulation, right?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah. What we did is we have had a discussion with the ministries, concerned ministries, and tried to change the draft youth volunteerism policy into national volunteerism policy, because that is very important. And finally, we have agreed, and now Ministry of Women Social Affairs, along with my authority and other concerned authorities, we are working. We have drafted already a draft. We have a draft national volunteerism policy, and we are expecting it to be endorsed by concerned authorities. But until that policy document come into existence, we have produced a document which we call, which help promotion of volunteerism, a volunteerism promotion and management guidance note has been prepared by my authority. This would help somehow give some concept to concerned authorities so that they would engage in volunteerism activities, how they measure, how do they manage. You know, there are so many issues within it. Actually, it has some important issues that is actually included in the policy document as well. And we have able to give trainings to all regional authorities to use it. And
have they started using it?
Sure. We have already given the training, and many regional authorities, specifically the Ministry of, Bureau of Finance and Economic Development at regional level, and also other government agencies are using it. They are happy having that document, and we hope it would help.
Last week you organized the annual exhibition of civil society organizations. Yeah. In a nutshell, what do you achieve?
Yeah, this is a new idea which we came up with last year. The first bazaar and exhibition was conducted last year from April 6 to 9, 2021. And this year, this is the second one. And this one aspires to achieve two targets, actually. The first one is to build the image of the civil society organizations, to show to the public what civil society organizations are contributing, what they are doing. And
so you showcase basically what they have done.
That's it. That is the first thing. The second thing is networking, to network them with government agencies and the private sector. We are always aspiring to have a very good synergy among government, private sector, and the civil society organizations, and they're within themselves as well. That is the purpose, and we perfectly achieved what we have aspired. Yes, it worked.
I think we have to end that conversation on that note, and thank you very much indeed for joining me here on the show. It was really a pleasure.
My pleasure, Deborah. Thank you so much.